everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we're looking at back episodes of the Heartland TV show. And we are on season 8, episodes 13, 14, and 15. So we're rounding up, almost finished with season 8. And now I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle is here.
Hey, everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good.
Good. Yeah. So what did you overall think of these 3 episodes? Do you think it's winding down to good season 8?
Yeah. I feel like this was definitely some, filler before we get to kind of like hopefully the last sort of 3 kind of more dramatic episodes. But yeah, the first 2 kind of felt a little bit, they were still fun to watch, but definitely felt like a bit sort of butts and no, it sort of, fillery, and definitely after last week, the episodes were still good.
Yeah, it's definitely a down from last week.
Yeah,
but still, still fun.
Yeah, very much. There's definitely, things in every episode that I really enjoyed.
Well, the first episode 13, is Cowgirls Don't Cry, and the summary is Ty's and Amy's save the date bounces from Wade and Lily. So Amy and Ty go to see Wade for some answers. Meanwhile, Georgie looks forward to the dance with Steven. So overall, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I like this episode. I sort of love Amy and Ty sort of non-planning of the wedding. Like they're so like perfectly suited for each other that they sort of care about the wedding plans as much as each other. And it's nice that they are sort of getting across the fact that they want to get married. It's just the details they don't care for. And I thought Lisa was really funny in this episode as well.
Yeah, that was really good when Lisa's like, there's roast beef and our prime rib and hint. What do you think?
Tim is really good in this episode as well. And all of these episodes, really, I found things that I enjoyed with Tim, which is shocking.
This was probably my favorite of the 3. Would you agree?
Yeah. I had issues with the third one that we're going to cover. So yeah, I would say this one was definitely the most sort of fun one that we watched.
Well, and it pretty much stuck to our core characters as opposed to the next episode, which we, spend time with this nephew of Scott's. But you have Jade and Georgie starting out on the horses, and Jade finds out about this rodeo school that Tim's going to be doing, and because Jade wants to impress this guy in her class named Matt, and she wants to impress him, and I like the growing chemistry between Jade and Georgie. And that's something that they never really gave Mallory, was a like BFF kind of character.
Yeah. And I like that they're sort of, when we first sort of met Jade, like the actress that plays Georgie just looks so much younger than her. So when I knew that, I looked ahead and saw how many episodes that she was in and that they become really good friends, I just couldn't see it. But now they look sort of more of a similar age, and they've really done a lot of development with Jade, and I thought it was interesting that they have her sort of be in a situation in a school where she is out of her depth. She's surrounded by cowboys, and it's just not really her thing, and she's sort of trying to fold herself into this world. With Georgie, and yeah, they have great chemistry as well.
Yeah, I think that I'm coming around to Jade. Like at first, I mean, you're not supposed to really like her, but she's a lot to handle. But ever since the whole them and the snake and everything, that was so funny to me. Won me over.
Yeah.
So then you have Amy and Ty picking invitations and boss versus D-boss, and this really rang true for me because I know what I like, and it doesn't take me a long time to make these kind of decisions.
Mhm.
When I was getting my house built, there's one day when you go in and you pick out your carpet and you pick out your all the different stuff.
Mhm.
And my mom was in town with me, and so she came to the session or whatever, and I was just like, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. And she's like, you sure you don't want to think it over? You don't want to? I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and it's totally different than my parents, because I swear my parents spent a year and a half trying to decide what wallpaper to put in their house. And I guess it's one advantage of being single is that you don't have to debate it with anybody. You can just pick what you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Um.
that just definitely was me. Would
Mhm.
that definitely would be me, with just that's the invitation I like. Let's do it.
Yeah. Me too. Like, I don't understand. Like, especially when it's sort of frivolous. That it's not gonna. You sort of keep one and put it in, like, sort of a memory box type thing, and it's not really
Hmm.
gonna. It's not a big life changing decision. I'm sort of similar in the sense that I'm not really a shopper. I don't go looking around shops for things that I don't need. I know what I want, I go out and I get it, and I come
Yeah.
home. Like, I just don't understand spending so much time, window shopping, or, planning, like, even just like planning things, like, as simple as we can make it. That's what I want. And as quickly.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I like going out and doing stuff with friends and things, but yeah, as far as
Yeah.
the actual like trying things on and stuff,
Oh,
not
not
for
for me.
me. I just have
Yeah.
I'm with
Yeah.
you there. I mean, most of the stuff I get is through, like, I get a lot of things at Land's End and stuff like that online.
Hmm.
So it just makes things easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Same.
but yeah, I think I'm more the personality, honestly, that would just, as far as wedding planning and stuff, I think I would rather if there was some way to just get like a package, like if
Hmm.
you were go to a hotel and be like, here's the wedding package, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just make a whole bunch of decisions all at once. Boom, you're done. It's nice. People have a good
Yeah.
time. Uh,
And
that's more my style.
you would think that Amy and Ty would be so simple. Like, they're so, like, they're not materialistic in any sort of way. They
Hmm.
could get married in, like, a farm and they would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
Surrounded by nature, they would be fine.
Yeah. And it is kind of funny when you think about the fact that Lisa is so into all this wedding planning, and her wedding was just
Hmm.
on the pier, on the dock.
Yeah. I think she is just really sort of, she's a planner, and I think it was just sort of driving her crazy seeing someone not care.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that was the thing that was really getting to her. It was just sort of rubbing her the wrong way. And I definitely have people like that in my life of just like that get frustrated with how much I don't like care about certain things, or
Mhm.
get wound up by certain things. Like, it's just not worth the energy.
Like, I am a planner to an extent. Like, if you
Hmm.
see my calendar, I, especially during the holidays,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I guess it just seems like you were saying, is it something that matters, or is it something that, like, it does not matter what, if you are debossed or embossed, like that's not
Yeah.
worth. There's a really funny Dave Barry column about wedding planning that I should share, where he's like, he was talking about the poor brides that are up all night worrying about gossamer, whether they have the gossamer bags or the it's a funny little thing. But anyway, so she's trying to help them. I think also she feels like, well, it's gonna end up being a mess, and then you're gonna be
Yeah.
embarrassed. And
Yeah.
so I think that's also part of the anxiety of it all.
Yeah. And especially with Lou not being there, sort of taking the lead.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um.
So Tim is worried about these rodeo cowboys that are going out that aren't well trained. He starts to think maybe I should be a mentor,
Hmm.
and he decides to start this rodeo school. And I would say this was pretty good, Tim. Like he was
Yeah, yeah.
pretty.
I'd say out of all the sort of businesses and sort of schemes that he's came up with, this is the one that sort of fits him best. Like this makes sense
Mhm. Yeah, I
for
agree.
him.
So they find out that Wade is back in Hudson, and Ty is very upset, and they get in a fight, and they find out that Lily is in rehab. His mom is in rehab.
Hmm.
They Amy talks to Wade, um, and tries to uh, tries to talk to Ty about this, relationship. They find out that Wade is working two jobs. He's working
Hmm.
as a janitor, and uh, and he says, "I figured you just blame me." And they
Hmm.
say that they heard a change in Lily's voice, and so it's not necessarily a huge surprise to Ty. Says
Hmm.
your mom, and they says your mom's a grown woman. She's got to get herself out of this, which is very true.
Hmm.
They talk about in recovery that you have to get to your kind of low spot where you
Hmm.
want recovery more than anything else, and that's why they try to do interventions where they create that low spot that's a safe low spot, and so that then you can hopefully move on from there. But if you're trying to recover uh, for your family, for any other sort of outside influence, usually it doesn't last. You have
Hmm.
to want it so bad. It's really hard. Uh,
Yeah,
and so it's
yeah,
it's tough.
yeah. And I like how they sort of handle this with Ty of just being exhausted by it all. That's very real. I have family members that have gone through
Mhm.
addictions and all sorts of things, and it's just hard to sort of sit back and say, I've done all I can. They have to want it. And it's the
Yeah,
hardest, one of the hardest things that you ever have to, well, I've ever had to go through. Um, and I thought, the handling of Ty, that, his anger is well placed, is, towards Wade and towards his mum as well for going back to alcohol. But yeah, yeah, it's just
yeah,
heartbreaking to watch.
yeah,
But I will say, like, Heartland has handled, the whole thing with Ty's mum so well. Um, not all shows that are this
yeah.
good at handling it.
Well, and it's really hard when you're a loved one because you want to show love, but then you also don't want to be enabling the
Mhm.
addiction, and finding
Yeah.
that balance is very difficult.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that Graham does a great job in these scenes. You definitely
Yeah.
can feel his frustration and his sadness and his anger. I think he does a
Mhm.
very good job. And then I also think that the actor who plays Wade does a good job as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He's one of those actors. Like, if you watch Canadian TV at all, like, he pops up on so many different things. And this is definitely like the most complex role I've seen him in. Um, and he's really good because you never really know where you sit with him.
Mhm.
And I think he plays that very well.
Yeah, it's Ian Tracy is his name. He does a good
Yeah.
job. He does a good job. So then we also have Amy trying on or getting out her mom's wedding dress,
Mhm.
and she's lucky that it's nice. Like it's, I think a lot of
Nice.
people's mom's wedding dresses wouldn't be something they'd want to wear.
Mhm.
Uh, but but then they also have Georgie putting on one of Lindy's dresses, and that was such a sweet scene. I thought when Jack sees her,
Oh my god, yeah,
it
that's
was
so
so
cute.
sweet. I liked that.
Yeah, and I like that he sort of got to a place where, I feel like in the earlier seasons, he might sort of lean towards sort of anger and not want to see that, but he's at such a place of, peace in his relationship with Lisa and his family. It's sort of lovely to see how far he's come.
Hmm. Yeah. And she did look beautiful in that dress. It was really cute. Yeah. I just love that relationship between Georgie and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
really
he does.
good. And so then you have Jade. She is taking the rodeo lessons, and they think, oh, are you just doing it to impress this guy? Well, she ends up going on a date with this Matt guy, and he wants to take her to the rock quarry, which I guess is the big makeout spot in the town in Hudson.
Yeah.
And Jade says, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. And he says, you're a tease. No wonder everyone says you're a joke.
Yeah,
So
this got dark for a second. I was like,
yeah, I
what is
did.
happening?
Yeah, it's true. And I thought that was as far as informing Jade's character, I thought it was a good scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And then Tim talks to Jade. She's very upset. And he says, so you're going to let Matt win? The Jade I know would show them what she's made of.
Mm. Yeah, they have a good relationship too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I almost like Tim better when he's kind of allowed to sort of be to give advice and be sort of the world weary guy to give advice rather than like the outright kind of protagonist type character. Then he's more frustrating,
Yeah.
you know. But then so the next day at the school, she rides the Bronco horse and gets thrown, the bucking horse, and she's out of rodeo school. But then this Mac guy, he apologizes to Jade for what he did. And so she's kind of the winner. And Tim's like, wow, she's got guts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is when he asked her to come back.
Mm-hmm. And then poor Georgie, she gets chicken pox.
Ugh, we'll have to
No
go through
fun.
it at some point.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I had a very mild case when I was a little girl. It wasn't too
Yeah, I
bad.
remember like getting it, and my brother had it. I
Mhm.
think my mum had already had it, but my dad had to like stay out of the house until he could talk to his mum and find out if he'd had it when he was younger.
Oh, really?
And he had, so he could come back to the house. But yeah, like me and my brother had it at the same time. It was awful.
No fun. That's hard. And so she was going to go to the dance with Steven, and then Steven visits Georgie. He's not going to go to the dance without her. And that was cute little
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
And then we also get Amy talking to Lisa saying, I thought my mom would be here when I was planning my wedding. So that's part
Yeah.
of her kind of stalling.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this was, good for Amy. And, sometimes she can go a little hard in the beginning of the episode. In terms
Mhm.
of just sort of her attitude towards, particularly Lisa. Sometimes Lou. And it can get a little much, but sometimes they do actually sort of land it, by the end.
Yeah. So she decides yellow and blue for her wedding colors. And they leave those bouquets on her mom's grave, Amy and Ty. So that was very sweet to end out the episode.
Hmm.
So I like this episode. I thought it was good. I'm going to give it an 8. What about you?
Yeah, I'll see. Yeah, I'll see the same. Yeah.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, You get to access our Patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right. So the next episode is Riders on the Storm. And this is Amy and Ty help Scott's nephew realize he is worthy of continuing his family tradition of relay racing. Meanwhile, Georgie is caught in the middle when her brother Jeff and her friend Jade exchange half-truths and outright lies in order to impress each other. And Tim initially refuses Jack's offer to help with the rodeo school, but is later forced to swallow his pride and accept what Jack can bring to the table. So what did you think overall of this episode?
Yeah, I thought this was an okay episode. I like, when Scott's involved and, they somehow found a horse thing we haven't seen before.
I thought about that. I'm like, what is this? Another horse thing.
Yeah. The relay,
Yeah.
apparently, well-known relay. But yeah, I thought this was kind of good. I just wish Scott was in the show more. I feel like this just sort of rehashed things that we already knew about Scott, in terms of his history and sort of leaving the reservation, and we sort of heard all of that before. So it would have been nice to delve a little bit more into his character. But yeah, pretty
Who
good
knew
episode.
that he was a rodeo relay champion?
Yeah.
And considering I didn't even know that was a thing until this episode.
Yeah.
And evidently there's a problem with Emmett's horse and horse Baraga, that he gets kind of spooked in the race.
Yeah, the
So
exchange where they sort of switch horses.
and so they bring in Amy, and Amy figures out that if they're able to put some kind of her jacket over the horse, then it solves the problem.
Yeah. And cover his eyes, so he's
Yeah.
not looking at the other horses. He's fine.
Yeah. And so Amy kind of saves the day, but Emmett is feeling frustrated because he can't follow in his uncle's footsteps, and he wants to quit the relay because he doesn't think that he's good enough. And he says, nobody cares what I want.
Yeah.
And he
Again, I
wants,
think this would have been a little bit better if we'd maybe seen an episode with Emmett before this one. I
yeah,
feel like
they did.
we're being asked to sort of care a lot about a character that we've met for like 5 minutes.
They did look pretty, believable that they were family, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really good likeness.
They did a good job of that. And we have Jeff being back in town, and he meets Jade, and Jade had already been kind of impressed with him before. And so she invites him to this art and music festival. And then she proceeds to lie about being in college. And so Georgie's kind of upset about that. And we find out that Jeff got fired from his job, which I'm not really sure what his job is. It's like some vague kind of, I'm not sure what he did. It was very profitable, evidently.
Yeah.
He got fired.
Yeah, I forget if it was in oil or some sort of company anyway, where he was sort of making a lot of money.
Yeah. I was on this path and now it's hard to explain.
Yeah, and he wasn't even fired. We sort of find out that he sort of walked away. So yeah.
And then you have Casey and Tim. They're talking, and it's just all work and no play. And we still like Casey, and we'll see sort of more about. We'll talk more about that in the next episode. But they have just a good dynamic. We like them.
Yeah.
And then Ty, he hates rehabs and the whole idea of going to visit his mom because of his childhood trauma that he experienced with all of that
Yeah,
and with his mom. So he's
yeah. This
struggling.
was this was so good in an awful way of like him just being triggered all throughout the episode. And I can totally relate. Like for me, it's hospitals. Like whenever I go to a hospital, I just feel awful because my mum's been in the hospital so much that it's just
Yeah.
it's just very triggering for me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely related of him just sort of not wanting to go to a place like that again.
Mm. Well, yeah, and I think it also it's just like you feel like you should be doing more, but you can't be doing more. It's just it leaves you kind of feeling frustrated.
Yeah,
And Lily doesn't want to see Ty either, so it's this weird situation.
yeah, yeah. It almost feels like it might actually be working for Lily this time. It's just maybe having to really delve into a recovery that's leaving her in a sort of not great place and not able to see Ty. So
Mhm.
it might end up being a good thing, hopefully.
So there is this rich kid taking a roping lesson as part of Tim's school named Rodney Cantrell. And basically, Tim's like overreached because he's also running the diner while Lou's gone. And Jack decides to help him out and tries to do this roping lesson. Well, this rich kid is the worst and terrible and storms off because he can't get it right. And so then Tim and Jack end up fighting, and he gets mad at Georgie and Casey, and he says that I just thought you'd have my back, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Like if he wanted Jack to help him with the school, like why didn't he like provide some kind of like curriculum? It seemed like Jack is just forced to just make it up on the fly of like how to
Yeah,
teach this kid, which like just because you can do something doesn't mean that you can teach it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think this whole business is pretty much on the fly. I don't think Tim's setting up a weekly schedule of how to teach these kids. Um,
Hmm.
Hopefully he's doing it safely, but I don't think he's really thought about. And it's all different types of things that he's teaching. I thought it was just going to be the buck riding, but he's doing sort of a bit of everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I also loved this scene when Tim says, I'm actually almost your grandpa to Georgie. He's like, you are
He's
my
like, yeah,
grandpa.
yeah,
That was good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. And so then Tim talks to Jade, says, you've got to get back on the horse again. And uh, then Tim apologizes to Jack because, yeah, I mean, he was doing you a favor. So it's
mhm,
ridiculous that he was
yeah, yeah,
upset.
yeah. And I like
And
this from Tim of like admitting that he was wrong. We don't often see that.
yeah. And then we find out that Miranda is getting married.
Oh my god.
And Tim is the worst, of course, about this. He takes
Yeah.
it as some kind of personal insult.
Best thing I got about this is like them trying to decipher a text message, but the rest was just I didn't get it.
Yeah, that was hilarious when Jack says, I don't know what people even think this is communicating. Uh, but then so Jade admits that she's only 17 and they agree that Jeff and Jade agree to go out again when he's back.
Hmm.
And then Ty agrees to go and visit his mom. So yeah, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I'm gonna give it a 7,
Yeah, that's
7.5.
what I was thinking too. Uh, you have, and then Emmett also wins the race against Scott. Scott says you won't have to go anymore if you don't want, and if you win the race, and he and all he does is ask for Scott's buckle. So it was it was fine. It was just like another insert horse thing
Yeah.
for Heartland.
Exactly.
So, all right. Episode 15 is called uh, Eclipse of the Heart. And it's Lou returns from Vancouver with an admission that threatens to change the Heartland family forever. Meanwhile, Jack intervenes when he discovers that Tim intends to crash Miranda's wedding in Moose Jaw. Then, when Amy helps Caleb source a horse for Tim's rodeo school, she learns just how precarious Caleb's business partnership is with Jesse. And Georgie fights disappointment when it looks like Peter won't make it home to take in the lunar eclipse with her as promised. So, what did you think of this one overall?
I mean, I was sort of disappointed. This is like the second time they've done this with Lou and Peter, where they sort of come to a decision where we don't see the process. And it's really frustrating. It would be nice if we were, privy to, some of the scenes in Vancouver of,
Right.
them coming to this decision, like it happened with Dubai. Like Lou just came back from Dubai and we didn't see like what led her to make that decision, what her life was like, and I guess she explained it a little bit, but it was just sort of another part of why it's so hard to root for Lou and Peter, because we see so little of them. Other than when they're arguing, having the same argument over and over,
Well,
over and
and
over again.
I felt like all the flashbacks were kind of little reminders of more frustrating scenes.
Exactly. Yeah, we even got flashback of like 2 episodes ago, and I'm like, we don't need we don't need a flashback of 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I think they want us to be on Lou's side, but Peter makes good points that she is also making a choice to not go to Vancouver, to hold the Dubai thing over Peter's head, to
Make Heartland their home.
and to buy a house without even talking to him. With like she's not like some kind of angel person.
No.
So you see his point, but it's just like we've been through this, and now we're literally like the flashbacks are reminding us, yes, we've been through this.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we find out that Lou and Peter are separating. Lou tells Amy when they go dress shopping, she starts to cry. And we get the flashback to Lou and Peter's wedding, which I mean, I guess, do you think they're expecting us to be super sentimental? Did they think, did they think that we should be super invested in Peter and Lou?
I don't know. I have no idea. Obviously, because we are, watching it years. It's hard to sort of see, where the audience were, where the actors were, and if he's not going to be on the show, as a series regular, then I just don't see them being together at this point. Like it's just not going to work. And yeah, I don't know.
I just wish they had kept him as the stay-at-home dad. That was the best.
Yeah,
that was like
they're not going to change, their minds in terms of, making actual choices, meeting in the middle in some of these, clashes that they sort of have over and over,
well,
if
and
there's
in
somewhere
the
that they
end,
could live, if there's somewhere that they could live together, that's, not Vancouver, not Heartland, where, it's more suited to Peter's lifestyle, and, Lou can still, have her roots in Heartland. There's been no discussion of, trying to, figure it out. It's just been Lou's got her stand, Peter's got his stand, and that's how it's been for years. So it's hard to sort of understand what the writers want from us as an audience.
And she says, I feel like our relationship is on continual loop, and I'm like, yeah, we agree.
Yes. Oh my god. I like text Rachel immediately when that happened, or like tweeted. I was like,
it's true.
Driving me crazy. We've been saying that for years. Well, yeah.
So then Tim wants Caleb to help him find a horse. So he gives him $2,000 to help him find a horse, and whatever he can however less expensive he can get it, he gets to keep the money. And so Amy has a friend, client who has a horse that would be a good fit. And so Caleb tries to get her to make this all work. And then you also have Georgie putting together this telescope because they're going to look at the lunar eclipse with when Peter promised they would do that. And so that was very sweet. And I really do love the relationship between Georgie and Peter.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me watching this episode, I wasn't sad about the Lou and Peter, separating. If anything, I was sort of not excited, but I was like happy to see them moving forward in some way. I feel like the emotional core of this episode is Peter and the kid.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and then Georgie says to Lou, she says sometimes you make decisions for people when they already told you that's not what they want.
Yeah.
Which is very true.
Yeah, Georgie's figured out Lou very quickly.
And then you have this whole thing with Tim going to Moose Jaw to try to, like, he's going to stop the wedding. Is that what he wants, or what is he doing?
No idea. I sort of read into it that he's sort of afraid of, finding somebody like Casey. Maybe that's it. He's actually found someone that he can have a future with. That sort of meets someone on his, the same sort of level as him. Somebody that's not going to put up with any of his, shenanigans. Somebody that sort of knows, his history and his past. And yeah, maybe that's sort of what's led him to going back on Miranda. But yeah, nobody cares about him. Like,
yeah,
I find
I'm like,
it hard
what?
to believe that
He's gonna like
people were rooting
stop the
for them.
wedding? Like,
Yeah,
what?
what do they do? Like, ugh,
Okay, does he even want to be with Miranda? It's just the fact that
No.
she's not with him. That's what bothers him.
yeah,
Because he doesn't even want to be with her.
Yeah.
But then Jack stops him on the side of the road and then throws the keys. So they're looking, and I thought that was all pretty funny.
yeah. The second like Jack's truck breaks down, I'm like, oh yeah, he set this up.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, she's like, you said it was your starter. Well, it comes and goes. And Jack says, focus on where you and Casey are headed, not where you and Miranda have already been.
Yeah, that was good from.
It was good. And then you have Amy actually liking the idea of using this little arena for her wedding.
Yeah, I was concerned when she said that she's going to ride Spartan up to the altar, or bring Spartan up to the altar. I was like, okay, Spartan's going to be in the wedding apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could work in that arena.
In a big arena, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And she says, keep doing your obsessive Lou thing. I think accurate. And so then Peter comes home so that he can watch the eclipse with Georgie, and says to Lou says, are we giving up too easy? And Peter says, we've been fighting a lot and it's taken its toll. We're still going to be there for the kids. That's not going to change. So they decide to, let's give it one more night. And Amy offers, well, we can cancel the wedding because we don't want it to be too triggering for you. And Lou says, don't. Help me believe in love again. So
yeah.
I think the flashbacks were the main kind of groan worthy, especially the way they were done when they went like they would kind of ripple into it, like as if we're having this, oh great, their Lou and Peter moment. Like,
yeah.
So I would give this a pretty low score this episode. Like maybe 6.
Yeah, 6.5, I would say.
Yeah. So next week we'll be finishing season 8. And so let us know what you think of these 3 episodes. What are some of your favorite parts? Put in the comments section. We love our comments. We have such great comments. or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. You can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. So check that out. And we also have our Patron group, which is a lot of fun. And we'd appreciate if you check that out. All the information is in the description. So thank you so much. And we will talk next week, finish off season 8. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.